Yet another console generation is approaching its end. This year marks the end of Generation 8 and the start of 9. Sony and Nintendo continue doing what they're doing, but with Microsoft it was a lot different. The Xbox One has shifted tremendously from its unveiling to where it is today. But let's look at how far it's come, what's happened this life cycle, and where the Xbox brand is heading thanks to some great acquisitions and innovation that they've focused into their services. Back on May 21st, 2013, Microsoft held a press conference to show us the future of the Xbox. It was about entertainment, about
you and your TV are going to have a relationship.
Whatever that means. Microsoft nailed their hardware, software and services with the Xbox, reiterated, innovated and exceeded themselves with the Xbox 360, but fell short with their vision and focus with the Xbox One. Don Mattrick was a key figure at Microsoft on developing the Xbox One, but prior to that, the Xbox Kinect. We all know that motion controls were a fad, a bandwagon that Nintendo built and Sony Microsoft tried to jump on. However, core gamers, the gamers that moved the bulk of the hardware, didn't want anything to do with this. Xbox One was marketed towards your average Joe, having a central hub of all your entertainment first and foremost, and catering to gamers second. We have a games console being revealed at an event that is targeted towards gamers, with gamers watching, and instead we're told how we can say Xbox play Netflix, and how we can flail our hands around to watch sports. Nice. When it shifted onto games, we were told that the console requires an always-on internet connection, otherwise games will cease to load, that the Kinect is integral to the system, that it has to remain plugged in and it will ship with every console. Why? Because they want to see you scratch your goddamn balls and sell it to Russia. But also because fuck you, you're having motion controls. We were told games had to be installed from the disc to activate their license, and that publishers ultimately held the power to withhold you from reselling the game should you decide to. This was a direct counteract to the whole second-hand debacle during the time, where publishers started getting greedy, claiming second-hand games were killing the gaming industry, and Microsoft catered towards it. Well, after the event, Mattrick and the rest of Microsoft faced the full brunt of the internet's ferocity. Microsoft then went full damage control mode. They weren't backing down though. All these so-called features were a must and couldn't be changed. Gamers were pissed, and rightfully so. It was a huge paradigm shift at the time. Even industry professionals were weighing in their concerns. And what was Mattrick's most infamous quote to consumers who don't have broadband or a stable connection?
Fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
Right. So stick with 360, that's your message if you don't, like it?
If you have zero access to the internet.
It was an absolute clusterfuck for the company. Backtracking slowly began as Sony's response to this was a megaton. The round of applause they received at their announcement spoke volumes. Quite literally, Sony's marketing in direct response to the Xbox One's unveiling was spot on, and Microsoft realised that they fucked up. The damage was done. No amount of marketing will undo this initial backlash and reaction. Due to their earlier arrogance and lies that they were portraying as truths, when things started to change, their dishonesty, trust and anti-consumerism was exposed. Turns out, you can just flick a switch.
I know it's very simple to disable the 24-hour check-in and the one.
Do you? Are you on the development team?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so I think that's a little bold of you to say it's simple.
A few weeks after the backlash, the DRM was removed, and subsequently a lot of other non-features such as publisher control over reselling physical licenses, aka your own discs. Soon after that, on July 1st, 2013, Mattrick stepped down. But the problems didn't solely lie in the misguided and disillusioned announcement. Microsoft had some serious commitment issues.
To those of you with us here in person,
in August 2013, the Kinect, that was mandatory and, needed to be plugged in at all times or the Xbox wouldn't work, was now no longer required. So sorry Putin, you won't be seeing me scratch my balls just yet. The console then launched later that year on November 22nd, 2013. Fast forward to March 2014, Phil Spencer was appointed head of Xbox. When Phil first came onto stage at that year's E3, his focus was on games and gamers. His entire demeanour was a complete parallel to Mattrick's, seeing him branded as the saviour of Xbox across countless forums. At first I was convinced too, but that's not how things turned out, at least for the first few years. And thus we enter the cycle of overhype and under-delivering over the majority of this generation, or as I like to call it, the stage of parsimonious hospitality and inadequate leadership, or Phil for short. That same E3, amongst their usual 3 franchises, we saw some others: Project Spark, Fable Legends, Phantom Dust Reboot, Scalebound, and Sunset Overdrive. We were blessed with the absolute broken mess that was Halo the Master Chief Collection later that year. The only real notable exclusives were Sunset Overdrive, which did not seem to resonate with the wider audience, and Titanfall, which ended up going multi-platform for its next installment. Come 2015, the team behind Phantom Dust approached Microsoft for further funding. They had presented a demo of their game, to which reception internally was supposedly positive, but Microsoft refused to give them more money, and in February 2015, Microsoft pulled the plug on the studio, and they had to shut their doors. One exclusive down. Recall, Rare Replay, Sea of Thieves, Cuphead, and a few more were revealed at that same year's E3. But we did see the implementation of backwards compatibility, a pretty groundbreaking step forward for Microsoft, doing something its competition was not really committing to or prioritising. This defined a lot of their direction going forward, now thinking about it, in a positive way. Maybe Microsoft are listening? Kind of? Then again, we get some more bad news. The following year, on March 7th, 2016, Microsoft announced the cancellation of Fable Legends and that they would be closing Lionhead Studios. 2 exclusives down. The lack of exclusives in response to Sony's output was starting to show. Phil Spencer's leadership is under question. What is he doing? What is happening over there, and why are so many of their games being cancelled and the rest being delayed? Does Microsoft have unrealistic timeframes, expectations, budgets, something else, or a combination of it all? On April 5th, 2016, Quantum Break released to high praise but poor sales, ultimately bringing another flop for Microsoft. We did get the announcement of Xbox Play Anywhere, another service improvement for the Xbox moving forward. That same year, Project Spark servers were switched offline, 3 exclusives cancelled at this point. Recall released that September, and as a game heavily advertised as headed by Keiji Inafune, met to poor reception and bombed. Yet another flop for Microsoft. We then have Dead Rising 4 in December, and guess what? Another bomber that put the Dead Rising series on hiatus. Now into 2017, and to start it off with a bang, Microsoft announced the cancellation of yet another one of their titles, Scalebound, being developed by Platinum Games, the developers behind Bayonetta and Vanquish. Count that exclusive number 4 out of the picture. Those following gaming media closely wondering, what the fuck is Microsoft playing at? What is going on? The company is not looking good in the eyes of gamers and needs to change its ways and bring something big. This is not good. They are hemorrhaging talent and a diverse lineup of exclusives that they so badly need. They're now pretty much down to their fallback pillars, Halo, Gears and Forza, with a couple exceptions. That year we saw no impactful console shipping exclusives at all. The only good exclusive they had was Cuphead. 2017 did however introduce something new, the Xbox Game Pass. This marked a monumental turning point for the brand during these pressing times. The last few years had been grueling, terrible management all round, lack of commitment and investment into games to keep existing players and attract new ones. But now we start to enter the brighter future of the brand going forward, the wake-up call, the true Philly cheesesteak.
Hey Vito's, hey yo, you want cheesesteak? Hold up. Hey cheesesteak!
With some new features such as Xbox Originals and 360 backwards compatibility, Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Play Anywhere, all Microsoft now needs is the exclusives and, some actual studios. In September of 2017, Phil Spencer was promoted to Vice President of Gaming over at Microsoft. Now I would assume he has far more control, and I think it showed. Kinect was then discontinued in the following month, but that's not all. In 2018, Microsoft went on a spree of studio hunting. They bought Undead Labs, the guys behind State of Decay, Playground Games, the team behind Forza, Ninja Theory, who have DMC, Enslaved and Senua's Sacrifice under their belt, Compulsion Games, the developers behind We Happy Few, and a new studio was formed as well, called The Initiative, helmed by former Crystal Dynamics studio head. Microsoft knows they have a games problem, and this shows that they're acting on this. The issue here though, is it too little too late? It's 2018, the generation started back in 2013, we're approaching the end of this console's life cycle. How long would we have to wait for the next round of exclusives to hit? Or would they be launch titles for what was then called Project Scarlet? And if that's the case, Microsoft are essentially shafting this generation and failing on behalf of its customers. The Xbox Game Pass was announced in 2017, but its initial offerings were average at best. 2018 saw this changing too. More and more great games were joining the library. The Netflix of gaming was really starting to shine, because at the time Sony's PlayStation Now service was far more expensive than the $7.99 entry point of Game Pass. Adding the icing on the cake here is that we were told all first party games going forward would be added onto the Game Pass day one. Seriously, $7.99 a month to play their exclusives day one, that is insane value. You know, all they just need now is the actual exclusives themselves. But it doesn't stop there, because later that same year, Microsoft announced two more acquisitions: Obsidian Entertainment and In Exile Entertainment. Two studios who deliver incredible RPG experiences have now joined the Microsoft family. So around this time, skepticism started to ripple throughout the community, and rightfully so. We've seen this before. Microsoft acquires a bunch of studios, then bottlenecks them and forces their hand into developing Kinect Sports super family fun time with your hands young. But the Microsoft of old seems to be long gone. From interviews with developers over at some of these studios, it seems that they have free reign over their creativity and direction. Gone are the days of Microsoft's micromanagement, apparently. Phil's Philly cheesesteak is far too tempting, apparently. Fast forward to 2019 and we have one more studio that was acquired, Double Fine Productions, and if you ask me, that was a pretty fine acquisition. Yeah. But that's as far as acquisitions go. Phil has publicly stated that they are now shifting focus to delivering the games. They also ramped up focus on cross-platform play, and Xbox Play Anywhere was growing. Xbox Game Pass continued to impress. Every month it continued to deliver more and more value. Titles such as DMC5, The Witcher 3, The Outer Worlds, and so many more. Microsoft has done a complete 180 since the beginning of this generation. Now going forward with services such as Project xCloud, enabling gamers to essentially play on any device anywhere around the world, and the announcement of Xbox Series X being cross-generation for at least the first year. So now here we are today. The future is looking bright for the Xbox. Phil seems to have learned a lot over his years leading the studios. His focus is clear: games in the hands of as many players as possible, services that set them apart from the competition at affordable prices, and the hardware to push great games. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and maybe subscribing. You can also join my Discord server if you want. The link will be down in the description below.